been reoccupying it already.
It's a data hole, though, isn't it?
Aloha, everybody.
Hole, but this is venting.
How's everybody doing? Let me see if I can get that glare out of the way. All right, guys. So we're gonna do a midday or afternoon update with myself, Phil. Haven't been with Phil in a while, so I'm very touched to be with him today. And Brother John was with me last night on the boat. We have seen a lot of lava at the ocean entry yesterday evening, and looks like the drainage is still happening till today. And this morning was a 48-hour period with drainage, so that means there was tons of lava still in the system. But there's a couple of things that I flew up with Bruce Amori and Paradise Helicopters and Mick Calvert this morning on the hot seat, and we flew over Fissure 8. My understanding that Fissure 8 is, with the recent events, and I haven't been up there in a while. Well, actually a week, less than a week, just about a week. And my understanding that Fissure 8 was kind of stalling out. So when I got up there, I see there with my own eyes, Fissure 8 is not stalled out. It's still there's still lava. There's not as much lava that we have seen in the past couple months, but there is still lava in Fissure 8. Fissure 8 is still, it looks like a lava pond, and there's a couple spattering parts of the lava pond that we've seen, 2 or 3 different spattering areas where we're seeing lava spattering up out of the cone. And a couple times we were over Fissure 8, we did a couple circles, and it was still spattering. And when we turned around in like a couple minutes, about 10 minutes, then we seen a pulse come through, and it was going over the mouth of the cone, where the last month or two, where lava was pouring out. We seen a pulse go through, and we seen a bunch of lava going out, and then it stopped. But from the cone, it kind of looked like there was a little tube system below. Little tube system below, and it was lava flowing out under the open part of the cone. And as far as the river, the braided river, the river system, lava was still in that system, moving very slowly. We've seen a lot of glow coming out of the parts of the system, all the way from Fissure 8 all the way down. Some breakouts, multiple breakouts on halfway down near Kapoho crater, where it does the bend towards Pohoiki. There was some breakouts there. There was some huge breakouts there going down towards Pohoiki. Massive flows still looked active, and then going towards Pohoiki, the lava there was still active. There's the width of the ocean entry is still over a mile. We've seen multiple entry points, multiple big rivers going into the ocean, and the captain aboard Kalapana Cultural Tours, Ohana, Mr. Kanoa Jones, he reported that there was a lot of activity still happening there. So the drainage is still happening, still a lot of drainage going through the system. Fissure 8 is still very much active. It's not as active how it was before, but it kind of looks like the trend of Pu'u'o, where there's a lava lake inside and some spattering, and it looks like it had created a little tube system that was feeding the channelized flow. So other than that's what I seen. There's but the seismic activity up at the Halema'uma crater was starting to do a flat line yesterday, and then there's some changes that was happening at Halema'uma crater, and Philip will go over that and go over what is happening, and also John will go over that new events that is happening at Halema'uma crater. But just to let everybody know, good afternoon. I know the hub is closed, but tomorrow Pu'uhonua Opuna will be giving out bottles tomorrow at between 4 to 6 because of the oncoming hurricane that is coming to Hawaii Island, which we hope will pass due south, but we still will be getting some effects from it. So a lot of people that have been affected by lava, Pu'uhonua will be doing a emergency kit drive. So you'll get a case of water and lights, batteries, canned goods, some canned goods, or we'll be putting together a package, and you'll drive in. And this is only for people that is affected by lava because of the recent events that happened with the eruption, and you know, the displacement of what the people are going through to this tough time. And now we have this hurricane coming, so we want to make sure these people that have been affected by the lava, that, you know, instead of going through the hustle and bustle, because they went through a lot of stuff through the last 3 months, we want these people to be you know, equipped with these emergency stuff that we'll be putting together, so they don't have to go through the heartache of going through Hilo and there's no lava. So we're gonna start to do that here at Pu'uhonua, and we planned on opening up tomorrow from 4 to 6, if I'm not mistaken. Check out a Pu'uhonua Opuna Facebook page. We'll be posting that. We'll be getting our stuff together for you guys tomorrow, getting everything together so you guys can drive in. And this is only for people that is affected by lava, okay? So and it's only limited amount of gear. So, you know, I know some companies are donating some water. If anybody wants to donate anything, today and tomorrow we'll be looking for flashlights, batteries, water, emergency radios, first aid kits, and non-perishable items. So people, you know, if it does turn to the worst, people that was displaced by the lava can be you know, well equipped for what's happening, what's the ongoing. And I've been seeing that a couple of meteorologists been saying that this afternoon the hurricane might intensify to a category 5. So you know, with all the prayers and everything that is happening, we want to make sure everybody is safe. And so other than that, so that's my update with the lava from my overflight this morning with Bruce Omori and Mick Calber. If you guys just tuned in, you know, fishery is still very much active. There is still lava inside the cone. We've seen some pulses go through the cone. Braided channel is still very much active. Outflows are moving still there, and the ocean entry is still very much active also. So without further ado, we're gonna turn it over to Philip. Let's see.
How's it, guys? Here with John and John.
Hello.
All right.
So yeah, we got a couple interesting things to talk about today. What do you guys want to start with?
Well, I think it's really great to have the eyewitness account this morning by Ikaika, because the question is if the fissure, with its low level of erupting, is still feeding lava into the flow field, or
Right.
if it's just draining. And it sounds like he could see the movement of the crust and lava open on the surface in places almost all the way down the channel. So
Yeah.
probably for some degree it is still getting fed from the fissure. And it's at this point it's hard to judge how much at the coast is from the draining of the channel and how much might still be working its way all the way through from the fissure. So that's kind of the debate we need to kind of look more at, is how is it getting all the way through the channel out to the coast at this low level.
And another
of
thing too that I
erupting.
wanted to ask you, John, what you think about, you know, you went on that lava boat trip yesterday
Amazing.
with myself, and you know, the amount of lava that was going into the ocean is just
A lot.
yeah.
It's still like you said, it's like a mile of ocean entry, so it's still many times what we would see at your typical ocean entry for Pu'uo'o and down in Kalapana and Kaimu. So it's more than that,
Yep.
and it's surprising a day and a half after this major draining and loss of flow from the fissure has commenced, it's still that much is entering the ocean. And I think you mentioned already, we saw that flow really far north of the rest of the entry, and that, I guess, made it to the ocean by today.
Yeah, made it to the ocean.
So a big flow was just near the shore, and I couldn't tell from the boat if that had come around the north or east side of Pu'ukapoho, or if it had followed the rest of the main path that was headed down towards the Halanui. So, but it just is amazing that a whole new flow could cover that much ground and reach the shore after all the draining has already been taking place for more than 24 hours or 36 hours. So, but yeah, so that's the main thing, is note that Ikaika with his own eyes could see there's still lava in the channel, could confirm it for most of the length of the channel, which is important.
Yeah, but he said it's moving slow.
Slow, but
and you said that you did see that you saw movement within the pit, kind of going towards the channel. So yeah, I think it's pretty certain now, given that and the pictures I was looking at last night, seeing the actual flow lines going towards the channel. That lava is moving into a tube system down there. Probably not very fast. Also, probably not very big, but that whole flow can actually take the lava and inflate, like we see further downhill, where the whole flow rose above the channel walls by having been inflated so much. So that's probably still happening. The fact that it did that first at that, the shipwreck marina, or whatever it's being called,
the
shipwreck bay, I've heard it called. These are all great terms. That clog, that shows how much it was actually clogged, and I think that's where that flow actually pushed its way through the tube. You mentioned how, you weren't with me, but I mentioned how you had the input of like a flow actually wouldn't prefer to go straight pressurized rather than pressurize and turn and go to the south. So it's probably still leaking to the south through that channel, west of Pu'ukapoho, towards that tube system that's draining above Pohoiki. But it still is draining, and I think some amount must have injected to the east and gone in the tube and broken out and made its way to the ocean. And that's fascinating, because the amount of pressure actually to do that, I wouldn't have predicted that. I would have said it looks like it's probably done going in that spot.
Yeah.
But it actually did do it. So it's interesting what kind of network of tubes must still be under there, or are still being utilized, still hot enough to be reoccupied apparently.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Do you think as it transitioned to and we had the flow moving through the channel, that helped push that way further, and
probably
got that core? Because a lot of people don't know that inside of the flow is liquid.
Yeah,
it's all, the rocks are all on the outside, but the core of it is actually still liquid. And so as it pushes through, if it stops, it can actually drain and keep flowing like liquid. So maybe that had something to do with it, as it made that flow. It just kept headed straight by its momentum or something.
Yeah, I think it's totally related, right? Because that outflow grows really tall, then it can really push all that stuff down inside of it and have the force to kind of push it through, right? It's like a big primary pump or something. It's gonna push the whole thing down and squeeze it all out. But even that little gap that was a little bit clogged, that must have got cleared.
Yeah.
And that's good, because that lava going that direction is not going down towards Pohoiki.
Right.
So that's fine. Everything over there has already been covered, so that's all good.
That was the most intense part of the boat trip last night, though. We did pull into the Pohoiki by the boat ramp. Didn't go all the way to shore, of course, but it was amazing to see that flow right there, past
and
Pohoiki.
how thick it was.
20 feet at least at the beach, and then behind
it was like freaking 40 feet.
Yeah,
right
over by the parking area,
high.
you could see it in the background, and
huge.
So it was really strange to see it so close like that in person. I'm not going to forget that. So
yeah, so that's interesting how it actually be flowing over top of the ground there. So that draining system is coming from fairly far uphill. It must be fairly full uphill when it happened to feed a surface flow up there. So in fact, I was going to say that I thought I remembered when the Kapoho era, the eruption ended, there was at least 2 days of fairly vigorous flow still, including big channels at the surface going into the ocean. And then it might have been up to maybe 2 weeks where it's dribbling in still, just dribble, slowly. After Halanui got going, it was exploding. We're still getting dribbling Kapoho still, dribble for a while.
Right.
So, I would think, no matter what happens, there's going to be dribbling there at least for another week, possibly a couple weeks. And I would not surprised if it stays a fairly strong entry at least through today, and then tomorrow I'd start looking for possibly start changing, possibly depending on how thick that was, how much it was draining. It could stay strong for another 2 days. But at some point, I would expect if lava is not going in there as much as it's coming out, which is what it sounds like.
Right.
There's a trickle going in, but there's a lot coming out. Then it's going to catch up sometime, and it's going to stagnate.
Yeah.
Stagnate.
And there's a lot of lava going into the ocean, so I think the ocean entry will be slowing down sooner than 2 weeks.
Yeah, slowing down pretty soon, and then it'll keep oozing for a while, possibly another couple weeks, kind of thing. Yeah. So that's I think that's kind of covers a channel discussion, and I mean, I don't know, it's if whatever's getting in the channel is not as much that it's getting all the way to Pohoiki no matter what. So it's piling up in the channel, building the channel up, maybe leaking through the Kapoho, but that's all good.
Yeah, at this moment it's hard to judge if what's leaking out of Fissure 8 is actually getting all the way down the river.
It's probably feeding the flow, but the flow is moving so slow. It's probably getting really gummy, yeah, exactly. It's cooling as it's going so slow, so it's probably feeding that flow and inflating it, but it's probably not pressurizing it as much as it was before, or really putting nearly as much lava into there no matter what.
Right.
So I think that's kind of how we can summarize that. And the other thing that came up was Pu'o'o. You guys want to talk Pu'o'o?
Yeah, Pu'o'o, man. So this morning on the flight, man, we've been seeing a lot of Pu'o'o discharging a lot of SO2. And the SO2 emissions. This morning we could see some huge puffs. So, Pu'o'o looks like there's something happening up there. And
it was even in the USGS report. I can even read what they wrote if I find the text over here.
And we have Mr. Pu'o'o right here.
So here's what it says. It says on Friday, gas measurements of the Pu'o'o plume indicated an emission rate of over 1,000 tons a day of SO2, the highest rate from this event in several years. Readers may recall why plume has been observed issuing from the vent over the past several weeks. On this morning's overflight, observers confirmed increased gas and steam are coming from the crater, but the temperatures do not seem significantly higher than on previous visit. No active lava was observed. So, and I think along with that, reports that I've heard from people around here is that the amount of gas coming out of Fissure 8 is maybe slightly less.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a plot, any kind of measurement of that, but maybe someone can find one for us and put it up.
Yeah.
But it seems to me like that there's that relationship exists there, and one thing that kind of comes to mind with me is the process of lava tubes draining. I kind of always imagine when I walk through the lava tube at the Nahuku, Thurston lava tube, that you see the ceiling of the tube is all these different kind of bubbles where the gas collects, and when the lava level is really high, all those bubbles are all isolated and separate from each other. But when lava level actually drops as the tube is draining, then those bubbles kind of become connected by the area above the flow, and then they can kind of move as a whole bigger bubble and kind of start moving. And all the gas in a tube or kind of channel underground system like that, pipe of some kind, wants to rise. It's going to be heated by the lava, even by the heat of the rock around there. It's going to want to rise, so it's going to go uphill, which means uprift. So it may well be that that's happened within the plumbing system, the fissure. I'm not sure what you call it a pipe exactly, but the path of the gas that goes through there is basically, I think, maybe flowing uphill from Fissure 8 up to Pu'o'o and using that as a chimney coming out of there. And that would explain a high SO2 because the SO2's got to come out of fresh magma, basically, right? And we've had a lot of that. It's been flowing here for months and months, obviously, and it could be that the flow was kind of keeping the bubbles somewhere trapped within that little isolated pocket. And now that the level's diminished, maybe that gas can mobilize and start flowing uphill. Not all of it, obviously, but some amount. And if that is true, if that theory is true, then at some point we should see the levels of SO2 go back down again once we've kind of burped the thing, right? So we'll wait and see if that actually happens or if something else is going on that we don't really see. And the reason I believe that that's probably what's going on is because we see no inflation. It's all deflation at Pu'o'o, like no sign of magma coming into the system, right? It's not like it's clogged and it's pressurizing there and it's ready to get out. It's just still deflating the same way as before. Right?
Okay. Yeah, that's an important detail. It's deflating, not inflating, and yet the gas. So
exactly. Yeah.
It's a process of venting gas from probably down here in that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there's one other thing that I was trying to put together here, and I am not sure if I'm gonna how right we'll get it. But let me find the. Here we go. This plot. Turn them around. Yeah. Seismic plot, seismograph from the station that's down here in Puna. And you guys can see like some little earthquakes going to happen around there, you know, like that's probably a real earthquake. Some of these are kind of so small it wouldn't even register as real earthquakes in our map page because they're just too small for that. But what I wanted to point out is what's happening down here at the bottom. You guys can see the background level, the color of the line is much darker all of a sudden for many hours here, right? And usually what that means is some flow of fluid through the pipe underground. That's what makes that harmonic tremor. It's kind of like blowing through a flute, right? You put a bunch of gas through a narrow opening and it vibrates it, and in case of the flute, you can hear it. In this case, this instrument's listening to that increased tremor right there. So that might be a signal of a gas moving through also, actually.
And when and where was that signal?
So it gets really strong, actually, starting, well, let's see. Starting earlier today, yeah.
Earlier today, okay.
So,
interesting.
yeah, it's hard to say that it exactly matches up, but I mean, we're seeing other interesting signs of gas moving through the system, whether it's here. I saw a similar pattern up at actually Uekahuna yesterday, last night. I didn't have a chance to include it. But there's that interesting kind of thing as well. And then while we have the camera pointed around, let's go back to the tilt and look at the tilt that's going on today. Let's see if I can find the right one. There it is. So here's our tilt at the summit, and you got to look at our scale is much different than it's been for a long time.
Tiny changes.
So we're going from minus 1.5 to plus 2, right? So before we were on a scale of about 160 or something up top to bottom. So these are actually very, very small changes, but we actually see that this is our flat line area right through here. You guys can actually see the noise in the signal, right? And then we have a little jump here, rises and then drops back down again, and it's been rising again. So it's not clear what this actually is. The deflation-inflation cycle. That could be. It could be some other kind of pulsing cycle, natural volcanic system.
What time was that? Rise.
This one right here?
Yeah, it was 1 o'clock.
Yes.
That was yesterday, maybe, yeah, started around 1 o'clock or so, 1 or 2 o'clock, yeah. That's about right.
In the afternoon?
In the afternoon, yeah. Yeah, so there's that, and kind of similarly, here's a up tilt, and this is what we're seeing, just steady deflation, a little bit more deflation, in fact, when this happens, so just afterwards, I'm not sure if there was, some kind of, when we had deflation and inflation pulses at the summit and Hanaumau and Pu'u together, we actually saw some kind of slight delay pattern. This is not exactly what's going on here, but there's there might be some relationship there that we can't quite untangle from just these two plots right here. So, yeah, and it kind of, here's that kind of the zoomed out view of that, so you guys can see the earthquakes. Still no earthquakes. That's still really quiet up at the summit. Very few rumbles.
Is anybody up there feeling anything?
Very little. Yeah, so occasional ones, but it's really not. I mean, compared to before, people were more, jumping like, oh, was that one? It's like, oh, I'm not sure. Oh, is that one? That's what I was hearing yesterday from the volcano residents.
It's good news if they're not feeling it. But it's not perfectly flatlined. I mean, there is a little bit of something going on up there. That slight inflation, slight deflation, but it's tiny changes.
Right.
But it's not just staying flat. On a fine scale, there is a heartbeat going on up there. That's important. But we were talking earlier, it's too early right now to know what that is really saying. We have to kind of watch and see if it keeps doing any of that before we can imply what it really means, right?
So yeah, that's what we got today. I'm going to give a shout out to Scott Wilson, who's unfortunately his plane broke down.
Holy crap!
And he got back safely, thankfully. But we've been relying on him for a long time, and we definitely miss him, and we'll see what we could do, to support him once he gets back off the ground there. But I just wanted to give him a shout out here too. So we unfortunately do not have any more thermal imagery. We do not have any more maps of anything like that. So we're going to have a lot less pictures than before as well. I believe Bruce will probably release his picture sometime over the day today, so we'll get to see that. We'll get to see that a little later, a little more detail, zoom into those things. But yeah, that's it. Other logistical things, I guess we heard that county meeting tomorrow was canceled because of the hurricane, is what I heard. I was a little surprised by that, because I would have thought that would have been an extra important time to give information. And if there was a threat to maybe move it up instead, but well, everyone knows I don't decide these things.
Oh well.
So that's where that sits. Oh, we're back in the orange here. Oh, we're getting a low connection. So I'll pass it back to Ikaika. Oh, dear. Dipped hand there, sorry.
Hello, everybody. And we'll be doing another live later on. So, with that being said, everybody, stay classy, Puna. Aloha.